Now, it's been 5 months since Germany went to the polls, and now it looks as though Berlin may finally have a government. Chancellor Angela Merkel's CDU-CSU combine and its erstwhile coalition partner, the Social Democratic Party, will commence the process of forming a coalition. But the Germans are complicated people, and yes, it's not that straightforward either. Beginning today, and with a deadline in about 3 weeks, more than 450,000 Social Democratic Party members will first have to say yes or no to whether they want to team up with Mrs. Merkel's party, that is the Union. The problem is the so-called young socialists within the SDP, they're dead against joining a CDU-CSU coalition again, and have even enrolled 35,000 new members to the SPD, who will definitely vote against going into a new government with Chancellor Merkel. But WION has learned from SPD sources that despite that, the coalition will in all likelihood be formed. So what will the Social Democrats want, and what are they likely to get? They will, of course, want the key portfolios of the Labour and Finance ministries. The man in the foreign minister seat, Mr. Sigmar Gabriel, is already a popular figure across party lines. Getting finance would be a feather in their cap, as the position is virtually that of Vice-Chancellor. And what about the biggest question hanging over the heads of all European Union countries, including and especially Germany, the question of refugees from the wars in West Asia? WION sources say, though the Socialists and the Christian Democrats were at variance, they have now reached a compromise on that question. Naysayers are many, even in Germany. They shake their heads and say this coalition will never last, and that Germany may well see another fresh poll. But even Mrs. Merkel's greatest critics grudgingly admit that when this coalition is formed, it will complete its remaining term over 3 years. Let's go straight to WION's correspondent, Ira Spitzer from Berlin. Good evening, Ira. Is this a done deal, or does this coalition still face potential roadblocks?
Well, I definitely would not call this a done deal, because the Social Democrat rank and file party members, about 450,000 people, will now have the chance to cast postal ballots on whether to approve or reject this deal. That voting will start on February 20th, will continue for about 2 weeks, and we'll know the results of that on the 4th of March. So that is the biggest hurdle, and probably the only hurdle to actually closing this deal. But the real question there is whether those voters will feel that their leaders have gotten enough concessions from Angela Merkel's conservatives to merit going into this grand coalition again. Now, certainly I think in terms of the ministries that the Social Democrats now will control, and chief among those is the finance ministry. They are planning to now retake that from the conservatives, and that will have major implications both here and abroad. So that is certainly something that will be looked at positively by those voters. However, did their leaders do enough on social welfare issues? Well, that's what they're going to be voting on, and I think there still is some question there. But most likely, we do have a new government in Germany. We'll likely see that happen in the next month or so.
And what does this mean for Mrs. Merkel? In particular, her personal capital? This was being seen as a term for her to cement her international legacy as not a leader just of Germany, but a leader of Europe, one of the tallest in the continent. And now it seems post the election, she's scraping the bottom of the barrel to just remain in office.
Well, I think you summed it up right there, and perhaps this is a fitting way for Angela Merkel to continue her tenure. She's known as somebody who has been willing to compromise, has also not necessarily had fixed ideological positions. And in this brutal 4 months of negotiating, both with the Social Democrats as well as previously in the Jamaica coalition talks, which failed, Merkel has seen sort of her political capital steadily weakened. And I don't think that really changed much today, except for the fact that she will continue to be the Chancellor of Germany. However, from an international perspective, Merkel is still certainly the face of Germany, still the most powerful figure in Germany, still an extremely important politician here. Now, I don't think there was much doubt anyways that this would probably be her last term in office. I think that has been really driven home today with the concessions that the conservatives had to make. But still, with all that being said, I think today could be seen as a victory for Merkel.
Ira Spitzer, thanks very much for putting it in perspective for us. 5 months post the election, Germany may finally have a government in place.